Senator from Missouri.
Mr. President, reserving the right to object, I ask for permission to hold up this shirt.
I object. Fine.
Objection heard.
No objection. No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Without objection.
Thank you. This is Jared Schmitz, Lance Corporal Schmitz, from the state of Missouri, Winsfield, Missouri. His father made this T-shirt and gave it to me a couple of weeks ago when I last had the chance to visit with him. Lance Corporal Schmitz was killed in action at Abbey Gate on August 22nd of last year. On the back are the 12 other Marines who were lost along with Lance Corporal Schmitz on that day. When I saw his father and he gave me this shirt, he told me about all they're doing to honor Jared's memory. And he asked me to continue to fight, to uphold that memory, and to get answers. And I said, that's exactly what I will do. And the truth is, that family and the family of the other lost Marines and every American citizen have been waiting too long for answers about what happened at Abbey Gate over a year ago, as the senator from Hawaii rightly notes. We're waiting for answers as to why the commanders on the ground weren't heeded. We're waiting for answers as to why the White House wasn't ready to do a proper evacuation. We're waiting for answers about how the security situation so deteriorated that 13 service members were killed and hundreds of American civilians were left behind to terrorists there in Afghanistan. We're still waiting for answers. And so, no, I'm not willing to pretend that everything is fine at the Pentagon. Everything is not fine at the Pentagon. I am not willing to say that business as usual should go on. And no, I am not willing to waive the rules of regular order and expedite nominations without even a vote on the floor of this Senate. But I understand my colleague's sense of urgency here. I understand that he wants to move these nominations, and so in the spirit of trying to reach a compromise, as he proposes, I would just say this. Why don't we agree to take a vote, just a vote, on having a select committee to look into what happened at Abbey Gate and get those answers and make them public, not a commission that will take years and years to report, Vietnam style, when everybody who made the decisions are safely out of power and collecting their pension, but a select committee that will report and make public to the American people and get real accountability. Because who's been fired over what happened at Abbey Gate? Nobody. Who's been held accountable? Nobody. Who's given answers? Nobody. So here's what I propose. I ask that the senator modify his requests such that the following confirmation of the Rumbaugh nomination, the Senate proceed to legislative session, that the Committee on Rules and Administration be discharged from further consideration. The Senate now proceed to Senate Resolution 763. Further, that the resolution be agreed to and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection?
Reserving the right to object. Just very quickly, look, we're at an impasse here because the problem is that the senator from Missouri is asking for something that he knows I can't agree to. And he is blocking the comptroller of the United States Navy because he's mad about something else. I mean, it's very clear what he's mad about. And he came in with his set-piece speech about what he's mad about. But the fundamental point here is that this is not the way to be a member of the United States Senate. I remember, I guess it was a couple of years ago, he came down and said, I ask unanimous consent that we pass my bill on Section 230 of the Communications and Decency Act. And I said, if you want to get a hearing, go try to get a hearing. Introduce a bill, get a Democratic co-sponsor, make the case, work it through the committee process. He has failed on that, and he has failed on this issue because he doesn't have other people with him, and so he's pitching a fit. And the bummer about this is that it's not me that suffers, it's not one party or the other that suffers, it's the taxpayer, and in this instance, it's the Department of the Navy who will lack a comptroller because Josh Hawley is not getting his way. I object.
It has now been 16 months since President Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, 16 months since Lance Corporal Schmitz from Missouri and 12 other Marines lost their lives at Abbey Gate, 16 months since hundreds of American civilians were left behind to the enemy, 16 months, no one's been fired, no one's offered answers, there's been zero accountability. And so for approximately the 200th time, we are here on the floor as I continue to fulfill my pledge to seek accountability for what happened at Abbey Gate, for the lives that were lost, including the life from my own state, Lance Corporal Schmitz, and to press for answers. It is not too much to ask that not just the families of the fallen, but that the people of this country not be lied to about what happened at Abbey Gate, and we be given the answers that the American people deserve. You know, in that time, in those 16 months, Central Command has done an exhaustive investigation and report. Here it is right here. It's thousands of pages long. I can't seem to convince my friend from Rhode Island to hold a hearing on it, so I've been entering it into the congressional record page by page. We're about, 100 pages in. We have many hundreds more to go. But when we're finished, everyone will be able to read this report in full. There have been other reports since then. The special IG for Afghanistan recently issued his own report, that office's own report, about the collapse of the Afghan government. And what these reports have in common is a consistent theme that commanders on the ground repeatedly warned the administration, repeatedly warned the National Security Council, repeatedly warned the State Department as early as the spring of 2021, that the security situation was deteriorating rapidly, that the Taliban was gaining ground rapidly, that there needed to be an evacuation. And yet, what did the White House do? Well, according to the findings in this report, nothing. Did they plan? No. Did they take action necessary? No. And so on August 26th, the terrorist explosion at Abbey Gate, we lose those 13 Marines, hundreds of American civilians are left behind in the botched evacuation, and here we are. And yet we're asked to act as if nothing has happened, as if we should just go on business as usual, keep the conveyor belt of nominees to this Pentagon running with no votes on this floor, no debate on this floor, just wave them through, wave regular order, move it right along, nothing to see here. Well, I'm not willing to do that, Mr. President. I haven't been willing to do it for over a year. And I hope my colleagues see now, a year on, that I was serious in August of 2021 when I said I would not consent to waiving the rules to send more nominees to this Pentagon until something is done to get answers and, frankly, to change the culture. Because the truth is, we have a cultural problem in the whole military-industrial complex. You know, this is an entity, an organization that has lied to the American people repeatedly over the years. They lied about Vietnam for a decade. They lied about Iraq. They lied about the true state of the war in Afghanistan. And now we're getting the same lies again, to the point that we can't even hold a hearing in public because the White House won't consent to it. I don't really blame Chairman Reid. He can't get witnesses to come testify in public because this White House doesn't want to say another word about what happened at Abbey Gate. We have a word for that. It's called a cover-up, and it's time for it to stop. Now listen, much has been said about me blocking nominees. The truth is, I can't block any nominee. All of these nominees can be brought to the floor. They can't even be filibustered. It's just a matter of what the Senate Majority Leader wants to do, and sadly, my side is not in the majority, and we're not going to be for the next 2 years. So if the Senate Majority Leader sees fit to vote on these nominees, he can at any time. But as to whether or not I will consent to waiving the rules and allowing these nominees to the Pentagon in leadership positions to be confirmed without even a vote, I will not, until something changes at the Pentagon, until something is done about what happened at Abbey Gate. And I know that my colleague, the chairman, is acting in good faith. It's a privilege to serve with him on the committee. And I know he's in a tough spot here because he's got a White House that doesn't want to give an inch and doesn't want to say a word. And I would just say that I hope that with real oversight coming soon in the House of Representatives, that the Senate will see fit and see its way to doing its part and holding open hearings on this report, on this tragedy, and making sure it does not happen again. With that, Mr. President, I object.